Alrighty, I want to welcome everybody to our first AB 617 South Sacramento Florence Steering Committee meeting of 2022. Thank you for coming. I just want to let everyone know that this is being recorded and it'll be posted on the district's website and our YouTube channel. And with that, I'll pass it to the co-leads.
Good evening, everyone. And as always, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We know your time is valuable and there's a lot to do, so we appreciate your participation. We will start off with the roll call. Chris Baker, absent.
Chris is absent tonight.
Okay. Gary Johansson. Patricia Shelby.
Present.
Okay. Rhonda Henderson.
Not yet.
Stephanie Williams.
She's
Present.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Tito, the mailman hung.
I'm the
Yeah.
young man. Thank you. Yes, here.
Vincent. Here. Jesus.
Here.
John Rice. Steve Blanton.
I'm here.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We do have a quorum.
And I think Gary just popped in too as we were doing roll call.
Okay, Gary, you're here?
Oh, his sound might not be up yet.
Okay, but he's there?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We do have a quorum. Marina.
All right, I'll do district roll call first. Dr. Alberto Ayala,
I am here, Marina. Hello, everybody. Good to be here.
Mark Lautzenheiser,
Here.
Amy Roberts,
Here.
Jaime Limos,
I'm here. Good evening, everybody.
Janice Lamb Snyder,
Good evening, everyone. I'm here.
David Yang,
All right, but I'm here.
and Stephen Bolton.
Present.
And for CARB staff, Karen Buckley
Here.
and Jennifer Magana.
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
And that's it for my role.
Right, Pat.
okay.
Code of conduct.
Yes, let me start. I'm going to read our code of conduct. Members will treat each other with courtesy and respect, avoid personally attacking or demeaning anyone, avoid interrupting others who have the floor, avoid disrupting and delaying the meeting, strive to be fair and unbiased towards each other, the public and the district, value each other's time and respect the other's opportunity to speak. Strive to reach consensus, but agree to disagree if need be. Listen courteously and attentively to the public and each other. Strive to hold each other accountable to this code of conduct. Okay.
And you have your agenda in your packet. We start at 6 o'clock. We have several items and we will adjourn hopefully promptly at 8 o'clock, depending on how things go, but that's our aim. So Mariana.
Alrighty, if I could get us to the next slide, please. I think I see a lot of familiar faces, but in case there's anybody who's new to Zoom, we'll run through some logistics. So we have staff available. If you have any technology issues, just send an email to ab617clerk@airquality.org and we will contact you. You can also message the host or the co-host in the message box if you're having any kind of audio trouble, and that's probably faster. For agenda items with steering committee discussion, the co-leads will announce the format. So if it's round robin, they'll call upon each member one by one, and then after everyone has spoken, then you can raise your virtual hand if you have additional comments. Same thing for the public comment period. If there is any discussion that's not round robin and you'd like to speak, please just raise your virtual hand. And in order to do that, if you're on the computer, you can click on the participant icon on the bottom, and then you should see the list of names. And if you click on your name, you should see raise hand. Or you might have newer version of Zoom, in which case you go down to reactions. I think it's on your bottom right. and then you have a raise hand button in there. If you're calling in on the phone, you can press *9, and then you'll hear a voice saying that your hand is raised. You can also email any comments to that same email, ab617clerk@airquality.org during the public comment period, and we'll read it aloud for anyone on the phone. And lastly, a reminder for steering committee members and any members of the public who are attending that it's appreciated to have your camera on so we can see each other. But also, if you have any privacy concerns about having your home background, being posted in the recording, that is understandable and not required. And that is it for our Zoom logistics. I'll pass it to the co-leads.
Okay, we need to approve the summary. In your package, you had the meeting notes for October 26th, our last quarterly meeting. For October 26th, do we have a motion to approve the meeting notes? Don't forget to turn on your unmute yourself. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting notes?
So moved.
Okay, Steve Blanton moves. Do I have a second?
Tito Huang, second.
Tito, second. All right, those notes have been approved. And I'm going to turn it back to Marina for the district update.
Okay, I have a quick announcement here. I have a few quick announcements. The first one is about our annual required documents. I think you'll all remember we had these last year. It was the first time that we had done them online, and it might have been a little bit difficult to navigate. So we tried to simplify it down this year, make it faster and easier for everyone to fill out. And I wanted to walk through it really quick and give you an idea of what to expect when I send you the links. So if I could share my screen real quick, Janice, that would be great. So since you are all returning members, you will receive one link. And let me pull this up here. You'll receive one link, and it is a combination of our participation agreement and conflict of interest form, all as one document now. So I'm sorry, let me pull this up. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what you'll see when I send you the link to your annual forms, and this is the participation agreement. And this right now I have the example for those who are representing a community organization. And I believe we have, I think, 5 of our steering committee members are representing community orgs or businesses. So this is the form that you would receive, and I just want to walk through it so that it looks familiar and you don't get here and go, where am I supposed to sign? And so it's not too confusing. So up here we have participation agreement, our code of conduct, and you will fill in your community organization's name here. And then we are collecting information about the organization, name, address, and if you are the representative of the organization, then you would sign here. And I just want to walk through this because for some of you, you are representing an organization, but you are not the director, in which case we will also need your director's signature, if that makes sense. So you would do signing here and signing a document, and that is your participation form right there. It's pretty simple. You don't need to make an account or anything. And then you go down to your conflict of interest form. And I'm skipping over this. Please do read it and fill it out in earnest, but I'm going to skip past this right now and sign in your signature on the bottom of the conflict of interest. And then you would hit finalize and submit. Can you see that in the corner here?
Okay.
And then for those of you who are representatives of your organization or your business, this is where you would enter in your director's name and email, and then it gets sent off to them for their signature. And that is, that's it. So just one form, should be pretty quick. And the purpose here is to make sure that we have everybody's affiliation and representation info correct. If we have you down as a resident, making sure if you moved in the last year or something, that you're still in the boundaries, and making sure that all of our information for you is still correct. If there's any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me or any other staff, and I'd be happy to walk you through it. I'll be sending out this link in the next few weeks for everybody, and then we'll have the new members complete these forms as well. So that is it for the forms.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Marina.
And I have one more announcement here. This is our personal bios for the district website update. So I believe we mentioned last meeting that we were working on some updates to our website on the 617 pages, trying to make it a little bit simpler to navigate and find some of our information on there. And as part of that remodel, we wanted to highlight the steering committee more and put a face to the name rather. And so this is an example here of Pat's personal bio. And these are optional, but we were thinking that if steering committee members would like to post some information about their background or how long they've been on the committee, this is a template that we have created that you can go off of, so you don't need to come up with anything on your own. And if you want to, this is an option that we'll be sending out a template that you can fill out, and it'll be posted on the website when we make those changes. And it doesn't need to be anything too detailed or too personal. If you don't want to share a bunch of your background on the website, again, that's totally okay. This is just something to make it more personable so the community has an idea more about the committee.
That is a nice picture. I like that.
Well, thanks. I do want to say when it goes out, I had to struggle a little bit because it came to me in a PDF form and I had to figure out how to move it over and then to get a picture and drag it in and fit it and stuff. So I don't know if that was the easiest format for everyone. So it might be easier in that case if they sent you back the text and a picture, and then you could attach it if folks need that type of support.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful to know. We can do that, and if anybody just wants to send the text, I can paste it into the template for you.
Can we
Pretty
get
simple.
that on a Word document instead? I'm not that savvy with computers, and PDF is challenging for me. I mean, if it's doable, if no, I will try my best.
Definitely, yeah, I can send it out in multiple formats and whatever's easier for you to edit. That works.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
I think I'm up next.
Yes, phase 3.
Mine quick update is about the phase 3 mobile laboratory. So the last you heard from Levi Ford, who's our air monitoring supervisor, was that we are working with the school to locate a viable location in order to place the mobile laboratory. So we've went ahead and done that. We've now working with Fern Bacon Middle School, where they've agreed to allow us to place our air monitoring laboratory there. So where we're at in the process right now is that we're in the contracting process where they're going to be giving us a template to fill out. Then once that happens, we will be working on a contract with the school, and then once that happens, we will be working to get power out to the site so that we can power the mobile laboratory. So that's the quick update that I have on that, and that's it.
Question to you, Janice. In reality, what type of window of time are we talking about to try to incorporate all those? You might have an idea. Alberto might have an idea. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So contracting with schools and getting power there does take a little bit of time, right? With the contracting and working all of that out. We anticipate that it's probably going to be late summer is when we're thinking about getting the mobile laboratory up and going.
Okay, all right. That sounds realistic.
Okay.
Late summer, early fall. It would seem like it would take that amount of time. Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. So with that,
Janice,
oh,
real quick before you go on, I see a hand raised from Vincent. I don't know if he has a question on this.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I do. Did we ask SMUD if we could use their facility at the cogeneration plant for our phase 3 monitors? Did anybody from the district ask them?
We did not.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to look into using it there because there's plenty of power there.
Okay,
But James, just one clarification for Vincent. Don't forget that the location for the lab was informed by the previous measurements, correct, Janice?
Yes, and we had, I think, shared back with the steering committee in terms of being, you know, within the boundaries of priority 1 area as well.
So I don't recall that the power plant was one of the sites. Maybe I'm not recalling correctly.
that it was not part of that group of sites that we were looking at or recommending.
Well, it was the top 3 of the of our data, and it showed it was one of the top 3 sites of the worst indicators for the pollution.
You're talking about the fire, in priority area 1, the firehouse.
So the location is actually, you know, if you can all recall, priority area 1 spanned, you know, from the north top part of the community to, you know, down towards the middle. The Fern-Bacon Middle School is closer to the northern part of the community, and so so that it would be closer than where we had previously talked about, Vincent, in terms of near that particular source.
And just to be clear to Vincent's point, the reason I was asking Vincent is, you know, we have a really good working relationship with SMUD. So if the committee decided that that was a location for the lab, I think it would be straightforward for us to make the request, and I'm confident that we could get a spot. My understanding was that Janice was looking at other locations because the data and the discussions from the committee had informed that different location. So that's the reason I was asking Vincent.
Yeah, that's understood. And from the beginning, I asked if we were going to ask SMUD if we could partner with them and have something there because it would be easiest place to put it. And it's high security and also plenty of energy there. But that's okay, we can move on.
Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, if not, I'm going to hand it over to Amy Roberts, who's our division manager. She's going to talk a little bit about an update for the SEP program.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all in 2022. I came to you about maybe 6 months ago to talk about supplemental environmental projects, not a new program, but a very much revised program that we kicked off last year. And just to give you a very quick reminder, supplemental environmental projects basically allow a violator who has a penalty that they need to pay to us, allows them to resolve up to about 50% of that penalty amount and divert it into a project, a community project, something that's environmentally beneficial. And so last year, we decided to go in a different route than we ever had done before so that we could target any kind of environmental project directly into communities and make sure that those communities that we solicited for were also coming from nonprofits and other community organizations. So we had a solicitation period that was about a month and a half. It was last June, July timeframe. We received roughly 20 applications. So we're actually really happy with the amount of projects and interest in this new targeted project area. From that, we had maybe about 15. So we did some vetting of those projects to make sure they were within the right areas. We were using the SMUD sustainability map, again, just to make sure that those were targeted in the right zones that we wanted to. So right now, just to give you an update of where we are at, we have been working with 2 companies that have violations outstanding. They've paid half of their penalty, but again, half of that we want to divert into the SEP program. And they're fairly large penalty amounts, so they're much larger than our average. Our average would be in the thousands, a few thousands of dollars. But we have almost $200,000 between these 2 companies that are going to go directly into a SEP project. And the violator has the ability to select from this list, and I'll post it in the chat in just a minute, so you can see the types of projects that we had available and the different organizations that submitted them. But we have 2 to 3 different projects that we're trying to just figure out all the details and the options, what company would be working with which project, and what the project actually is. After 6 months of getting those applications, some changes have happened along the way. So again, there's just some details in the background that we're working through, and we expect probably those will all be resolved in the next month. Hopefully by springtime, we'll be able to bring you more details about the resolution of all of those and where that money is going to and what projects they're funding. So we're very excited about it, and we'll keep you up to date. And again, I'll submit some information if you want to go on our website and check it out. Any questions from anybody?
I have a quick question. So the violation you said was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars?
So we had two companies that had violations. Between the 2 of them, it's going to be at about $190,000. So you could roughly say double that amount for their full penalty, but 50% is going to go to a SEP project.
And what types of violations would trigger that steep of a fine?
For one of them in particular, it was a company operating without a permit, and we considered it a knowing violation. And so if somebody was aware of that, we actually have to have a permit, but we went about our business and did it anyways, and it was a fairly lengthy amount of time that they were operating without a permit, and then that usually garners a higher penalty. So again, knowing, length of time, and the amount of pollution associated with a particular penalty. So if it's a long period of time, you can assume that there's more pollution that they've emitted during that time, and that affects the penalty amount usually. And so in each of these, there was a sustained months, and in one case, it was about a year or so of non-violent or in violation that they had to resolve. Does that help, Bill? It's
yes,
not super specific, but in general.
No. Thank you very much.
All right.
Amy, is it possible to, you said you stuck in the chat the link of the projects that they had to select from, and did you get community input as to what projects were that they had to select from?
So the solicitation, it directly, it couldn't be a business. So we had certain criteria for somebody that was going to submit the project. It had to be a community-based organization, nonprofit, an educational facility, or a government entity. So a not-for-profit. So that's basically, and then we did some, we did outreach. We used, some of our board members to get the word out that we were soliciting for, and we reached out to certain organizations to make sure that they were aware of the opportunity. But again, I just sent the link in the chat to the website directly, and then I will also paste over there the project list so you can see the specific organizations.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none at this time. Mark, could you go forward? Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you, Pat. Well, the announcement I'm bringing up is one of those bittersweet ones. I'm going to take a moment here to talk about Karen Buckley, who has been with us from the beginning. Karen, as many of you who have been in the committee for a while now know, has been a longtime CARB member, definitely a great ally for communities, for cleaning up the air. She's been with the AB 617, well, she's had other experience as well, but she's been with the AB 617 program since its beginning, has joined us at virtually all of our meetings. And so it is with a bittersweet that she shared with us here recently that she is retiring. So she gets to enjoy the next exciting part of her life. We've told her she's welcome to continue joining us on these fourth Tuesdays of the month. She gave me a good chuckle when I shared that opportunity. But certainly first ourselves at the district, we just want to again thank Karen for all of her time, all the effort she's given to not just our community, but all of 617 throughout the state. I know she's done a lot of traveling throughout, gone to the different communities, been at many of these meetings statewide. Fortunately, we've already got a great liaison in Jennifer, already been here with us many months now as well, and back originally with the program. But I know that when we shared this with Bill and Pat as well, we definitely wanted to take a moment, and I'll pass it to Bill and Pat as well. But Karen, certainly from the district and on behalf of all of your efforts, just want a huge thank you and shout out for all of your efforts.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
So, Karen, I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to to come here and have an opportunity where no one's just yelling at you about what we want from CARB, or what's clarity, or what does the blueprint mean here, or all those. I wanted to thank you because you have been instrumental in helping us find our way. We started off as a very different community compared to others. We started off with the very, very hopeful and thinking, oh, we don't need that type of, a facilitator, blah, blah, blah. And quickly found that we hurt ourselves in those decisions. And you were very patient with us when we were going, what are we supposed to do? You're calming advice, you're helping with connecting us to resources, the resources that helped us be able to look and build a charter with some of the best practices that we could see around the state, and getting us connected with people we could speak to about those things was ever so helpful. But I personally want to thank you that anytime I sent a note, an email saying, Karen, could you please explain this? Because I don't understand how this is working. You were very patient, very responsive. And we needed that because we were all having to muddle through something that we did not understand and was so very, very new. And you were always honest. You were saying, this is changing. This is new. It's new for us at CARB as well, and helped us be able to kind of find our way. But I wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for our organization here, as well as personally for all of your good work and your support and your patience, and always that calm voice to respond to our questions. And even when you got frustrated and you would just go, well, I'm not sure, let me find out. It's just very, very clear. So I want to thank you, Karen, for that, because it has been a benefit to us all.
Thank you, Pat.
And I will echo what my co-leads has said. Thank you for your leadership, Karen. This has been an evolution for all of us, and a learning process for certainly most of us. And I think that includes everyone, on this call. So thank you so much. Enjoy the next part of your life. Have a blast. Do whatever you want to do. Sleep in. Sleep in late, go to bed late, whatever in between. So
don't go to night meetings.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you again so much for all that you have done for us.
Thank you. Thank you all. Really, it has been a pleasure for me to work with all of you. I was born here in Sacramento. I lived in Southland Park, so I'm not too far away, and now I'm in Elk Grove. So it has really been great to be a part of this community. And just the work that you guys have done. It was hard, but you didn't give up, and we all stuck in it. Even on those super hard nights, it was like we just got back up and we just went and we kept going. And I hope you continue to do that. I really appreciate all the work that you do for this community. Sacramento is a special, special place, and it means the world to me to have participated in this with all of you and this new program that I can't believe we started 4 years ago. And, you know, I've had a really great team this time around. I've been a manager since 2008, and I have just been blessed with some really great staff. So you're in good hands with Jennifer, and she will help you out, as with Eric. I see Eric's on here too. The team will still be here, even though I will probably not be watching an evening meeting, at least for a little while. Right. So you never know, I might pop up, but you know, just putting that out there. So thank you so much for all your kind words. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Karen. And when does it become official, Karen?
Monday is my last day. I'm hoping to get through my emails by then. So we'll see. It might be Tuesday to have to get through the emails, but yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time tonight to come and be with us. And what the gift I will give you is that you don't have to stay on. So enjoy the rest of your evening.
I will be here, but my camera will be off.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karen.
Mark, did you have any other things that you needed to do for the district?
No, thank you, Pat. That takes us through the updates that we wanted to bring.
Okay. All right. So, Bill, we want to look and let folks know about the charter.
Charter review.
Okay, folks. I believe everyone received in the mail their charter. Did everybody get that? We asked it to be mailed out to everyone. Really want you to take the time to look through that. I know over time there have been some recommendations, and we want to take up some notes and to look at what we should do. I see Vincent has his hand raised. Vincent, do you have a question about this issue?
No, it was with the air district. Do we have an update on data from our air monitors? I thought we asked for one last time we were at a meeting.
We don't have one scheduled for this particular meeting. But we can plan for that at the next meeting.
Did you miss the update last time it was given, Vincent? Or are you thinking of a second update, just to be clear?
Well, we didn't have an update at our last meeting. And so we asked at the end of the meeting, could we have an update on our data from the air monitors to be presented at our meeting so everybody can see it? Or
okay, just to be clear, so we were not intending to give you an update every meeting. We have done an update for the committee before, and Janice can remind me when that happened. So are you asking that the committee would like an update on data every time we meet?
well, I think me and several committee members mentioned it. Yeah, we meet once every 3 months. So, I mean, I don't know when we're going to get updates from our data and look at the data as a group.
Actually, yeah, I want to second Vincent. I believe that was mentioned last time, and obviously we don't want the update every single meeting, but if we can have that, I don't know, every other meeting per se. But yes, that was discussed last time.
When did we do our update, Janice? I mean, we're fine updating the committee as frequently as you wish.
I don't recall when. I'd have to look up the exact meeting for that, but we can certainly look that up real quick.
Well, we can, that's fine. I'm just, the committee is asking for an update, so we'll commit to putting something brief together for you.
Actually, I believe the reason for that we raised that question and was when Janice, remember that we, the subcommittee, we have a meeting with you and you kind of show us the data, all that kind of stuff. Then is when we say, can we have that another update? That was when we raised that question. But
Yeah.
it was back in, I believe, it was like in October, I might say. October or November, something like that.
Yeah, so I think that's certainly something that, like Alberto said, we're happy to bring back a short update. That's not a problem. I'm actually, Stephen Bolton, I'm going to introduce him to you all. He's a new person who has joined our team that's really going to be looking into our data. So certainly we can do that. And Pat, maybe we can put that on the list of future agenda topics that we're going to talk about at the end of the meeting.
Yes, I'm making a note for that now. Okay. We'll come back with that. My apologies that I didn't catch that for our agenda piece. Okay. All right. So about the charter. I know, Vincent, I thought you had raised an issue regarding charter, but it's time that we review that, because we will review it annually. If it's minor revisions, we can take that up, do it. If it's a major revision, we have to form a committee to work on those items. But please look through that. And if you will, please send me your notes or comments. Email those to me if you would. And then in February, we will take that up at during our community engagement meeting. Okay. Any other comments about the charter? We're also looking at, and I had discussed this at our last community engagement meeting, that we're looking to put together a committee that is going to be doing some outreach to other groups and other organizations that we want to try to build partnerships with in the community. And I'm interested in what individuals would be, who's interested in working with Bill and I with that project. And we will, again, have more detail about that at next month's engagement meeting. But we want to try to put together a committee to work on that. So once again, please email or text. I do want to bring up in the interim, John Rice has joined us, so please put that on our update. And Rhonda Henderson has joined us. We had missed you at the very beginning. Good to see you again, John. And Rhonda, Rhonda's been having technical things with her computer, so I'm hoping it's working tonight, because we're going to be moving towards you making some information to us. But if you will, folks, just send that information to me via email if you're interested in doing that. I know that some of our potential new members have also stated an interest in doing that. All right, I'm done with that. Marina, did you want to introduce the next slide?
Yes. Janice, if we could pull up the slides, please.
Yes, please give me 1 second.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. So I have here an action item for us tonight. I'm going to be walking us through the applications that we have received for recruitment. So just a recap of the timeline of when we have opened up. We opened it in the fall or in December before the holidays, and we had 3 applicants apply, and those were all eligible applicants, and I believe you all discussed them at the December meeting and recommended them for approval. And so that left us with 1 available spot for a resident member. And so we opened up again in January earlier this month for that last resident. And we received 3 applicants for that last spot. And I believe you all should have received this table in an email from last week. So I'll assume that you read the responses and not go through every single response that they had on the application. But these were the 3 that we just received in January for that resident spot. And so we will be asking for a recommendation from the steering committee tonight on which of these 3 applicants to accept. And I have one more slide. I just very brief. I want to give you all time to discuss this. One more slide is the map. So this is our kind of geographic distribution of where we have steering committee members and applicants. So the black here, the black dots are our current members who are residents, and the star is current member who is a non-resident representing a community group. The red are the December applicants. And so those were the 3 that you had all discussed at that December 7th meeting, and they are pending approval per your recommendation. So those are the 2 non-residents and the resident in the circle. And then for January, those 3 applicants that were just on that table, those are the 3 blue dots, and it's kind of small and hard to see, but the top blue dot is actually 2 applicants up there. So that is where everybody is placed to kind of give you an idea of, remember our 4 priority areas, kind of an idea of where we have representation of the steering committee and our applicants that we're looking at tonight. So the blue are the ones that we are discussing right now.
And if we remember at our last conversations, we wanted to focus on a youth component. So I just wanted to bring that up as we go forward. Vincent, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. So is it in our charter that we cannot accept all 3 of these residents, or will that put us over the limit?
Our difficulty is that we have 15 member on the steering committee. Adding 1 additional resident will put us at the 15 at this time. And so it would be a charter revision to change our numbers. And that we also have room for alternates. A resident could also have an alternate resident. They have to be under the same category. The alternate does.
Rhonda, you're on mute.
No, you're still.
Okay, there we go.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, caller number 9. You're on the air.
Did we get any students or youth that applied for the 3 in January?
Yes, we do have in resident 1 near the Mac Road Center Parkway area. When you read that top box, that is a youth identified themselves. And I have to, for full disclosure, this is a person that I know, and it is a relative of mine. It is a youth.
Okay. So the other 2, they're just adults and not youth. Okay.
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But looking at their experience, I mean, they're all good and have skill sets that we could use as part of this steering committee.
We're looking for all these 3 positions to be for young people, or either or?
Either or. We just, yeah, it didn't have to be a youth, but that was just one of our where we saw maybe some gaps in our committee, and we said, let's if we can, if there's a youth that is interested, we just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that, and that was the will of the committee to say, yeah, let's do that outreach.
Yeah, I remember. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Rhonda, you have your hand up still?
No, I'm sorry. I can take it down now.
Okay. All right.
All right. Are there any other questions about this? About the residents?
I guess I have another question. So we went out of our way to reopen the application period in order to solicit youth.
Correct.
Okay, so now we're saying it could be either or. So I'm thinking, why did we go out of our way to get youth if we're just gonna go either or and end up taking maybe another adult?
Well, I think what we said was that this is what we wanted our focus to be. And so you're right. It was not exclusively youth, but I guess the preferential would be that it would be a youth. So it's not a hard and fast. If a youth did not apply, that wouldn't mean that we wouldn't take somebody else.
Okay.
So it wasn't that hard either or.
Okay.
Your point's well taken. Vincent, you have your hand up?
Yes. It's just kind of in line with what Rhonda was asking. And so maybe you could help me understand. So we only had one, I thought we had more than one opening available, but we only have one opening available. And so we have 3 residents. Okay. And all right, that's it. I just wanted to, I wasn't too clear. I thought maybe we were going to expand the committee so we can take on more tasks and do more things in the community.
Pat, doesn't that take a charter amendment?
Correct. And so that's if that is where we're at, then that would also mean a charter revision.
Well, didn't we just
Ron.
recently add some new people that were like businesses or something at the last meeting?
We made the recommendation, but they were being held off while we waited because the imbalance, the residents were put out of balance. In our charter, our residents have to remain the majority of the members.
So then we're only looking to fill, okay, so we're only looking to fill one more spot.
We were looking to fill one more resident spot. That would keep the balance according to our charter. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so maybe that's where my confusion's at.
Okay.
So we have 3 open positions and we have 5 people who are in line right now, or the 3 residents, and we haven't selected the businesses yet, have we?
At our last month's meeting, we made the recommendation of the 3 applicants that the solicitation had closed. We had eligible applicants who were all good. One of which was a resident, 2 of which were non-resident but work or have businesses within the area. If you check back into the chart that was just up prior, the 2 stars and the red dot were the ones that we had said, listen, we're willing to accept those persons. We have to open that solicitation again because we need 1 more resident. So that's how we got to the 3 residents, Vincent.
Okay, so we have selected the 2 businesses already.
Yes, they fit under that category. Yes.
And they're here today.
We're going to vote on that, but I believe that they are online today. They were invited to come to the meeting. Yes. Thanks. So our final position open for our 15 seats is to select a resident from these three.
So from
Jesus.
this, thank you. From these three, we have to select one, correct?
Right.
Correct. The other two would be eligible to be alternates, but not
Yeah,
on
and-
the seat. Right.
yeah, okay, and all these are residents.
All are residents, yes.
Yeah, and only one of them is youth, which we were
Correct.
kind of looking for. All right, thank you,
Correct.
thank you.
Vincent, have you asked your question or your hand up again?
Yes, no, I'll take it down right now.
Okay.
Okay. Alberto?
Alberto?
Yeah, hi, thank you, Pat. I just wanted to follow up on the point that Rhonda made, which I think is really important. And that is the committee's desire to get some youth participation. And I don't mean to overcomplicate the process, but you know, if the committee desires that we more proactively seek out youth participation, you know, it's under your power to change the makeup of the committee. You could make a decision today, and if you give us direction, we can commit to you that we can reach out and specifically work with our school superintendents, with whom we have a working relationship with, and see if we can identify some youth that could potentially be interested in participating. I don't know if there's a way that, you know, by being associated with you and our program, that they can get some sort of a school credit that could make it maybe easier for them to participate. But I really like the emphasis that you're putting on having a youth voice in the committee, and as a means of perhaps helping you make this decision easier. You know, if you give us direction, we can commit to look into that a little bit more proactively by working directly with the schools. I didn't realize that was an emphasis for the committee, and I don't think that we were, you know, very directly engaging with our school administrators to see if they can help us get some youth applicants. So I just wanted to put that on the table for you as an option.
Right.
Thank you. Tito?
Hi, Bill. Thank you. Just want to clarify, I think we talked about the emphasis of having youth. At the same time, we also talk about how difficult this participation could be for anyone, given the depth and the complexity of this topic. I know Pat is very passionate about getting the youth in there, and we discussed that thoroughly in our previous meetings, how I believe in youth. I feel like I'm one of the younger guys in this group, you know, but I'm near 50 years old. So I just, correct me if I'm wrong, but we talked about it. We're not saying we have to have the youth just for the sake of having youth.
Right.
I think everybody should go through the process of the interview. God forbid we bring somebody in and we have somebody who's youthful and we're passionate, and he couldn't make it. And part of it is because it's not fair for a young person to go through what we've gone through. Not to say it's a negative thing, but I think there's a certain level of experience, wisdom, and insight and expertise that comes with having gone through life and you know, difficulties of dealing with communities and outreach and the whole 9 yards. So that's just my perspective. I'm just saying, I don't think all of us have agreed to say that we have to have youth just for the sake of having youth. And I'm glad to be one of the younger ones in the group. Thank you.
Okay.
That I always love listening to you, though. So I have a question on the charter then,
Yes.
and because we can, I don't want to make this a statement. I'm going to ask Pat and your team. So there is, you know, we do have an annual review of the charter.
Correct.
So we wanted to make an amendment to the charter to enlarge our committee.
Correct.
I guess I'm still making this into a statement, and I'm sorry. Can we do that? And if we took in one person now, after the revision, then we could add other people. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Okay. And how long would a revision take if this is what was the will of this body? Pat?
I don't think that that necessarily would be a long period of time. It would be simply revised and make sure that we can do this in a way that we keep the balance that we've outlined for the organization.
Okay.
So, Stephanie served on the charter. Am I speaking out of turn, or is that your understanding as well, Stephanie? Not sure that she's right there. Okay, I see a question from Steve Blanton.
I'm sorry, I was trying to get my microphone off of mute. Yes,
Okay.
you're correct, Pat.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes, absolutely.
Steve?
Thank you. Yeah. So not being the youngest guy here, I'm wondering if I could, if you could clarify a point for me, which is how many total seats do we have up tonight to vote on? I see that we've got 3 applicants.
We have 4.
We have 4. Okay, I'm seeing 3 on the screen here. So,
Okay,
so we have
so-
4, and we have 1 seat that we would be voting on tonight.
We will approve all 4 tonight, but we had the recommendation from the last meeting to approve those 3 and
Okay.
move them forward, waiting for this last seat.
Got it. I appreciate that. So let me also just say I'm a supporter of youth. There were a number of opportunities I had when I was younger, and I think I benefited from those. So I want to encourage younger people to participate. But at the same time, I also believe that the race goes to the swift. So if we've got, qualified applicants or a pool of qualified applicants here that took the time to submit the application and have the passion and interest, we ought to pursue that. And I like Bill's suggestion of maybe opening it up and looking if we could make it even larger and give other people an opportunity if we want to do a more concerted outreach. But again, I mean, we put it out there. We're not in control of. We can't tie somebody down to a chair and make them fill out the application and get it back into us. So if we get other good applicants, then we've done the best we can to broaden our reach, I guess is what I'm saying. So let's not be shy about approving good qualified applicants when they're in front of us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Tito, you have your hand up?
All right, folks, take your hand down if you are finished.
Sorry, Bill, my arms got stuck there. I apologize. It happens sometimes.
Remember, I'm not the youngest guy, so it took me a reminder to get my hand up.
I got energy to keep my hands up. You know what I mean? I got energy to keep my arms up.
I think I'm the oldest here. Stephanie, you do have your hand up.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to say one of the other things that when we were building out the number of members on this commission, it needed to be an unequal number. So I don't know, as we move forward, if we are looking at adopting additional members, we still need to keep that. And that was so when we came down to a place of voting, there needed to be able to kind of either go one way or the other. If we have an even, then that is very difficult to make decisions. And so however we move forward, whether we expand or not, then that also has to be that consideration for voting purposes, that it does need to be an unequal number. So I think that, and that was, so to someone's asked, where do we get the number from? So I just kind of wanted to speak to that as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's a good point to remember.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Doesn't appear to be. Okay. All right, so Bill, are we ready to ask for a vote?
Yeah, let's do that. We will. Do we need a motion for a vote, or just a vote?
Let me ask this question before we do this. We had quite a bit of discussion about expanding the membership as well. of the steering committee.
Right.
Do we want to get a poll of where people feel that and where that should go?
Okay, can we open can we take off the applications? Can we get everybody on the Zoom? There we go, thank you. Okay, and I think that's a good question. So what are our thoughts on that as far as expanding the board or committee?
So for steering committee members, raise your hand if you are in favor of expanding the number on the steering committee. Go to your reactions button and raise your hand.
Hold on.
Or raise your hand in your video screen.
So we have Rhonda, yes, Gary, Bill, Pat, Tito, Jesus, Vincent. Okay, I think we have a Ed Vincent on this. Okay. So we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we would have a majority on that call.
Okay. All right. Take your hands down, lower your hands, please.
Yes, Miss Shelby.
Okay. All right. Stephanie, you had raised your hand. Was that a question before that you had? I'm sorry, I bypassed you.
No, I was using my reaction. I was casting. I thought we were doing a vote, but then I took it down because you said raise your hand. So
right.
That reaction was either a yes or a no. I was opposed. So
okay, okay, so it was supposed to be.
Okay. All right. So at this point, do we have a motion to make a determination of our 3 candidates? Which one are we going to invite?
May I ask just a quick question before we do that, Pat?
Yeah.
So on the straw, I guess it was straw poll that we took right now.
Yes.
So where does that lie? What happens with that now?
Well, that tells me that there has to be a wording and amendment to the charter. So that has to be created. If that's
Do we need a motion to direct you and Stephanie to do this?
Doesn't have to be me and Stephanie. There's
Well, but you guys have been working on the charter more than the most, is what I'm saying.
So, Stephanie, would you? Mark has a question.
Hi, I think maybe, Bill, I can answer a little bit of the question there. So since the straw poll was indicating that it seems like the majority of the committee would like to look at the numbers, that would be part of your, it could be a one-off in terms of the charter amendment, or it could just be part of that broader charter discussion that the committee was already going to have next month in terms of that annual revisiting of the charter. For tonight, you would still be looking at one of the 3 just because the charter is in place. And if there is going to be a charter amendment, we would have to notice that so everyone knows it's on the agenda, et cetera. So you would be voting for one of them tonight. And then as part of any charter, in case, if this is the only thing on charter, that makes it real easy. But if there's anything else that the committee would like to look at on the charter, that could fall under that same time. So that'd be my only suggestion, is just to handle that together, as opposed to doing one piece because you're gonna have to notice anyway. So rather than doing one piece as a one-off, seeing if there's any other pieces that the committee is interested in. And certainly you could bring on even the other 2 as alternates to existing residents right now,
Yes.
Immediately. So they could still be participating. They just wouldn't take the vote if the existing person is present. And then if the charter goes through, they could be participating in subcommittees, full on, just like every other member is doing. And that way, then if at such point the committee does decide that they want to update the charter in that regard, then you could just transition them at that point.
Okay, perfect. That's good leadership. Thank you very much. So the only thing that we would have on our as an action item now would be the one person that we are admitting, correct?
No, that off of this list, we have
Off
to
of this
choose.
list, yes.
Yes. Choose
Okay.
which one. Is it going to be the person that has identified themselves as youth, or resident 2 or 3? Resident 1, 2, or 3?
And the youth is one. Okay.
Right. On that list is resident 1.
Okay, so we are going to vote as 1, 2, or 3. Okay. So, okay, let's vote. So let me call the roll. And we will vote. Ready? All right. Gary Johansson.
Gary, turn your sound on. Okay, you're on.
I think I'm going to vote for 3.
Okay.
Resident 3.
Number 3.
Okay.
Patricia Shelby.
Resident 1.
Rhonda Henderson.
Rhonda, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Resident 1.
Stephanie Williams.
Resident 1.
Thank you. Tito.
President 3.
Vincent.
President 3.
Jesus.
President 1.
John Rice.
John, you're on mute if you're trying to speak. You could probably also type it into the chat if necessary.
Steve Blanton.
I'm going to say resident 3.
Okay, let's go back to John Rice.
I don't see him on the participants right now.
Okay.
I think he might have had a connection issue and dropped.
All right, so 1,
That's 4, 4.
4, 4.
Wow.
I have not voted.
Oh, okay.
So
So you're gonna be the tie. You're gonna break that tie.
and I'm torn. You know, I am.
Well, you reflect the body, Bill, because we're it's a 4-4 vote, so you couldn't get much closer.
Exactly. Can I ask you a question, since we are so yeah, not conflict is the wrong word. So, you know, as we talked about 1 and 3, for the folks who voted 3, what was that tipping point? What was your thought? Just so we get a consensus here.
I thought they were genuine, sincere, short to the point, and I didn't think they were just throwing words in there. It was just gravitate to me.
I agree with that, and they spoke about passion and the environment, and I like the fact that they've got a background in web development also.
Okay.
Those are the same things that I read as well. The social sciences, web development, and work in your community.
All right, I'm going to cast my vote for 3.
Okay. All right, so resident 3. All right, and along with the our 3 applicants from our last meeting, that would give direction to the district. Okay, all in favor of the vote? Aye.
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 Okay. All right. Okay, so let's direct the staff to the district to go ahead and contact all of those members, our prior applicants, applicant 3 off of this, and invite the other 2 to come on as alternates. Who here, please by raise of hand, is willing to have a resident alternate for themselves?
I have a question. I have my hand up.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry,
Vincent,
Vincent.
go ahead.
Yes.
So did we just vote to expand our?
No.
No, we did not. That still is going to take.
Okay, well, we took a straw poll, we talked about it, and so we're going to expand our charter or look at amending our charter to include these other 2 people. Am I correct? So can we tell them that we're trying to work that out so they can still come aboard? Or is that what we're doing?
They can't come on board until the charter is complete. We're not going to violate the charter. We're going to look to amend the charter. That has to be noticed. That has to be written up. We have to have the language that has to be approved. And then at that point, we have, remember, everyone who applies, we hold on to their applications for several months, right? We also had an applicant who came in this time but was not a resident, but was still interested in joining as well. Qualified person, but not a resident.
So Pat, is the steering committee directing us to keep these residents on file until the steering committee makes a charter amendment?
Yes, and to also open the door to them to be alternates, and that's where I was trying to find out who's up for having people be alternates for them as well, who are residents. We need to bring people in and start cultivating that new membership as well.
Right. And so then, Pat, so you had mentioned earlier that we would onboard them like everyone else has been onboarded as that alternate piece, or not?
If they accept an alternate, yes, they would get onboarding.
Yes, that's what I mean. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
If they accept being an alternate, but you're an alternate to somebody.
Gotcha. Understood.
You're not just a freewheeling alternate out there spinning on your own. So it's, who's alternate?
Understood. So can we open up the, can we take down the applications again so we can all talk?
The direction at this point is for staff to reach out to our first 3 applicants,
right,
and resident number 3, and offer them the dates for onboarding. Okay, this is our final recommendation for the 15 seats we have currently.
Correct.
Is that clear? Yeah.
Yeah. So you had a question again to this body. So we have 2 people that will be alternates. If we have 2 people on this committee that will say, yes, I will take candidate number 1 as my alternate, and I will take candidate number 2 as my alternate. Is that also correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do we have anybody here that would want to have either candidate number 1 or 2 as their alternate, so then they could go through this process.
Vincent, you have your hand up?
I did. Did anybody ask the candidates if they were going to be interested in being alternates as well?
Vincent, I think we have to have something to offer them. Right now, we do not, because there hasn't been anyone come forward and say, yes, I will accept them as my alternate. So right now, we cannot offer them an alternate because there's not a position. We have to create that position.
Is there any way that we can discuss that on the subcommittee? I mean, because we need to give some more thinking about that option. That's my point, but
let's push. Okay, so let's table that item and let's push it forward to our February meeting.
Okay.
And give everybody a chance to think about that, because you are responsible as when they are your alternate, you have to keep them abreast of everything that's going on. You have a responsibility to your alternate, because they're the person who sits in for you and votes in your absence.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting, to kind of take some time, think about it, see the pros, the cons, and we can discuss that in our next meeting on February.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So at this point, we will simply give direction to staff to start the onboarding process with our 4 new members. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Rhonda.
Yes.
I think you're up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Must have been
Is
daydreaming.
that correct? Is that correct or no?
Yes.
Must be
Okay.
Yes. Okay. I was daydreaming. Okay.
I don't want to get extended here.
All right. So I'm here to report back from the outreach subcommittee. We've been busy. We met last week too. We put an RFP out on the 14th of December, and it closed on the 15th. No, the 15th of December, and it closed on the 14th of January. And we received 2 proposals. One from, let's see, Shay Perez of Sierra Blue Agency, and one from Digital Marketing. That person's name is David Ennis, Dr. David Ennis, I should say. I believe he's a professor at Sac State. And so we are inviting them to an interview, and we gave them a couple of dates. One person accepted the date of February 16th, which is a Wednesday at 6 p.m. Our other date was February 17th at 6 p.m. I have not heard back from one of the candidates, but I just wrote them that's why I wasn't ready to talk yet. I just wrote back to follow up to see if they'd be available on the 17th, because the 16th was taken, and if not, can they propose a new date and time? So that's where we stand with a person that's going to help with our website and outreach campaign. Let's see, what else is there to say? I need to ask, how do we get reimbursed for the money we've already spent to purchase our URL? One of our committee members has already spent the money in order to make sure we get the names, what do you call it, the email names that we want. So they've been purchased. So what do we do? Do we just write up an invoice? You know, I can get one off of Google space and send it to you, or so that we can get. Yes, I see Pat's hands up.
I had, as you know, we had a prior discussion about pre-authorization before spending. The MOU has taken longer than we anticipated because there's just a queue to get through at the Air District for what Macroad Partnership has agreed to do for us. So what I did do is I pre-requested before the purchase for us to be able to do that, to try to secure those before we lost because we took the .com, the .org, and the .net names for Clean Air Sacramento. And so I got that authorization, but Bill is going to have forms for us to fill out as part of the MOU process.
Okay. All right. So then I said email addresses, but I meant domain names. So we Pat purchased 3 domain names. What is it? Sacramento SacCleanAir.org, .net, and what was the other one? .com. Okay. So that nobody could buy them up. Okay. So that was my question. So you said Bill already has a form that we can fill out. That you can fill out for him to get reimbursed.
Yes, when the money gets there.
When the money gets there. And how much longer do we have to wait for the money to get there? Can somebody tell us that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So like Pat mentioned, it's going through the review process right now. We anticipate that we could have if Bill doesn't have a bunch of comments, then we probably could have one signed within about 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. Wow. Okay. That's a long time. And then by then we would have probably interviewed our 2 candidates, and we'll be ready we need to have an answer for them, or at least have a target to work for.
Well,
so we chose to interview them 1 month later than we had proposed. But it looks like we might not be ready by then. So we'll have to just play it by ear, I guess. Unless anyone has a better suggestion.
We should come pretty close, I think.
Okay. All right. And then what else did I want to bring up? I marked my little sheets. Let me flip over and see. We're going to submit some questions in advance to the candidates that we're interviewing, specifically any clarifying questions and technical questions. That will give them a chance to kind of be prepared for those questions with their answers. And then just the general questions that will be asked of everyone, we'll have those available at the interview. We won't submit those to them in advance. Let's see, there's going to be 3 people on the panel, and whoever's available on the dates that they select, then we'll ask for 3 people. And then I think I'll go on just to introduce people, since I've been the contact person during this duration, and then take notes or something, and then have our other panel members interview. And let's see, what else did I want to say? I think that's about all I need to say. I think, Victoria, I see that you requested that one of the flyers go out to a community meeting. If you want to speak on that.
Sure, thank you. I had requested that we had a flyer for this meeting go out for the community. I know that the district had made some nice ones in the past in different languages, and we had spoken about maybe making those in Hmong, Spanish, and English. Is that something we can have for every meeting?
So thanks for that question, Victoria. I think earlier, was it last week, I had sent over the English flyers for you. And I think the question is whether or not we can translate those into different multiple languages. I think if that is something the outreach committee thinks it's important to do for the meeting, we can certainly do that as part of the outreach budget. But moving forward, we could definitely make that available, and we've already put that on our list of things to do to provide for at least the English version. So I think the committee needs to discuss whether or not that's something, you would like for us to move forward with.
Okay. Is there a,
Sorry.
somebody's laughing.
Me,
Is-
we're getting asked to use the outreach budget, but we don't have any money in our budget. And I've been looking on the district's website, and so I look at all the different budgets we've been presented over the last few years. Is it common practice for the district to tell people that they don't have any way to pay them or disperse money? I mean, I don't understand why it's so easy to tell us that we can't use any of the money that's been allotted for us.
Maybe I'll jump in here real quick. So just to be clear, the 25,000 which we have allocated for the outreach to, within the control of the committee, this is just something new. And so we're simply just going through the paperwork in order to get that into, the macro partnership has offered to do this. That's just, something new we're working through in terms of the contracts and the agreements. So I guess I'm not really understanding your comment, Vincent. This was something new that we put in place. We are working through. There's obviously just some, there's hiccups anytime you work through something new and cutting the funding, and from a fiduciary standpoint that we just need to go through as a government agency. Our hope is that once we have this in place, is that this is going to make it much more convenient to do. So maybe you could help. I guess I'm a little bit confused as to the, other than, I get the humor as well in the sense of saying, hey, that the funding's not quite here yet, but it is there. We have allocated it. That is the commitment from the district. We're, getting the paperwork in process just as a government agency to be able to make that money more readily available. So I guess maybe you could expand your question a little bit about which piece of that needs some further expansion.
Well, in the AB 617 budget, we spent $1.6 million over the last year on our behalf. So I'm just wondering why it's so difficult for the district to disperse $25,000 for us to use, and why do we have to go through this whole different route of disbursement other than anybody else who gets paid through our funds?
Well, actually, Vincent, it's not really any.
Let me address that, Mark. Let me jump in. Vincent, let me remind you that the funds that we are making available for your outreach are not coming from the state, and we are grossly underfunded. What it takes for the district to provide a service that we're providing to you and the rest of the community to implement AB 617 takes a lot more money that we're getting from the district. So I want to remind you that we're making do as much as we can with the funding that we can identify for you to have an outreach budget. The second thing is, I apologize because government contracting takes a lot of time. But I don't think we're any different for all of you that are accustomed to working with governments in different capacities. I don't think we're any different than anybody else. There are some internal checks and balances that unfortunately just take time to put in place. But as Mark alluded to, there is no question we've made the commitment and we're going to deliver the commitment, and we're moving as quickly as we can. But again, for you to reference the state budget, that is money that is given to us to implement a program that is taking a lot more money to do than what the state is providing to us. So I just want to make that super clear for you. And I hope that helps address your concern.
Victoria?
Thank you. I didn't realize that making the flyers to invite the public to these meetings would, take budget money. I do realize it takes employee time to create them, but maybe if you could just share the Zoom link for the meeting a couple of weeks in advance, I could volunteer as a community member to whip up a Canva flyer to make a document. And we have 2 volunteers on our outreach committee who have volunteered to do the translating in Hmong and Spanish. So, that's something we could do for free if we could be communicated with the links to this meeting in advance.
Victoria is Vietnamese and Spanish. It's not Hmong. Sorry.
Okay, did somebody say that it's going to cost money to make the flyers in other languages? I missed that part.
Translation.
The translations? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
It is. Yeah, with the county, we experience the same thing. I mean, even the fact that we have to do flyers, it takes a lot of money. So, but I think it's a good idea, as Victoria says, maybe we can just do the link and some verbiage in Spanish and in different languages is a lot easier than to spend money on flyers.
Okay. Well, my question about the flyers, I saw the 3 different flyers, but they really didn't say you are invited or we invite the public. It just was a statement of date, time, place, that type of thing. Do you think we should add language like let them know they are invited to attend, or is that just the customary way that you write it?
I think what we sent you guys, if there's any suggestions in terms of how we could make that better, we're happy to, change it to what the committee would like it to. So I think, just send us some suggestions and we'd be happy to take a look at it.
What do you think, Victoria?
I think, a simple template where we could change the date and time and link every time would suffice.
And then we could add like we invite or encourage the public to attend or something,
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that's what it was missing for me.
That's a good point.
Okay.
All right, Bill, thank you. I think there's 2 issues. Let me address the language thing. Jose and I have volunteered to help with the language support. I'm not saying that are expert at interpreting or using, but a lot better than using Google Translate. We just want to be able to welcome the community, let them know that there's, an interest, vested interest on their part to participate. I think there needs to be also timing, and we need to give a couple of weeks in advance. I share that with Janice as well, Janice as well, that, if you guys need our support, we're more than happy to do more than just the Vietnamese language, but the Southeast Asian languages as well. Again, I'm not trying to define what, AB 6.7 is or cap and trade. It's not really technical. It's just more like welcoming, them to know that they're equally as welcoming as anybody. So I'm hoping Jose share the same thing. But I think Vincent's point is just the fact that, funding, right? We were so gung-ho about getting the website and getting everything else. And then, it's just the fact that Pat have donated some of their funding, and I'm sorry, not donated, but fronted some of their funding. So we just, I don't want her to not have her second meal or third meal later on. So we just hope, that we can maybe have some funding be available so that some of us don't feel that we have to obligate it to front the money. I think it's just a couple $100, and I think, Dr. Mentioned earlier that there is dealing with the government, and then there's obstacles and protocol you got to follow through. It's just us as being anxious to get things done, and one of the things are only a couple $100, and we still have to wait for the funding. That's where the frustration comes in. But point well taken, Vincent. Thank you.
Pat, how much was it for the 3? What was the 3 URLs? What's the cost on that?
$72.
Okay. So let's do this for right now. Let's have the macro partnership reimburse, and we will hold on to that.
No, I'll just hold. I've got the receipts.
Okay.
We'll just set a protocol and follow it. I knew that we were doing this in advance, but there was a purpose to try to hold that very, very quickly. So I knew what I was doing. But in another 3 weeks, the stuff should be finished so that we can be able to set up that process.
Okay.
So in follow-up to what Vincent said, didn't we get the announcement that we had our budget to 25,000, about 2 or 3 meetings ago?
We have the budget. The process is
the process has already taken like 2 or 3 months already.
That's not unusual for government stuff. That really just isn't that unusual.
Well,
we're setting up something new, but hopefully it's very soon, right? Because we do have a major project that's coming, and once that selection process goes through, then there are going to be dollars that are going to need to be allocated to pay for that job, the initial deposit, and then the bulk at the receipt of the final deliverable, right?
Oh, I understand all that, and I worked for state for over 30 years, but I've never waited for 5 months for things to be approved. That's all. So, I mean, we do have some waiting time. It doesn't happen overnight. So I'm not trying to be unrealistic, but I've never waited like 5 or 6 months for it to happen. So that's my concern. So maybe because it's
let me-
new and you've got to cut through all the red tape and hoops to set up the new process, maybe that's what's taking so long.
Yeah, it is a new process. Yes.
Okay.
Let
Okay.
me react to
So
that,
now,
because obviously, Rhonda, I'm sensitive to, I want to make sure that the committee is assured that our commitment to help you is there, and is not in question. We are moving as fast as we can, and I apologize, and I'm sensitive to you know, your impatience in trying to get this in place. I am equally interested in getting things in order in as quickly as possible, but we're stretched pretty thin here. And you know, I too worked for the state for many years, and you know, I saw things take a long time. So I want to make sure that while we may not be moving as quickly as possible, we are moving, and we're going to do as much as we can. But again, I want to remind you that the state is not fully funding us to do what we want to do with you. And I want to leave, we are trying as much as we can. And I do appreciate if you just work with us and be patient, work through the processes that we have to work through internally, and we'll get this in place as quickly as possible. But the commitment is there, the funding is going to be there, and we're going to provide the support as quickly as possible. So I just want to make that clear. Thanks, Pat.
Okay, I thank you for that. Okay, so in terms of our interview questions, we're going to have each of the subcommittee members from the outreach committee send in questions, and then we'll vet them, and then we'll probably narrow them down to, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 questions. So those questions have to be submitted to our outreach subcommittee, to me, by the 3rd of February. So that's where we stand with to finish out that part. And that's about it. I don't think I need to say anything else. I can turn it over to the next person on the agenda unless one of the subcommittee members from the outreach group has something to add.
I just want to thank you, Rhonda, for the good job that you and Tito and other people are putting on this task. I mean, thank you very much. It's just great. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Tito, did you have a question, comment?
No, my arms are up again. I didn't know. Sorry. Can I get it down?
No.
Yeah, your hand is still up on the screen. The virtual hand.
Just a comment. I've sat in on some of the outreach meetings, and a lot of hard work is going into it. And Rhonda, I thank you for your leadership. There's a whole lot more to be done, including starting to build content, starting to build what are the initial outreach locations that we want to do as we're building our pages. Fire season is coming. Again, what we want to prepare, what we want to do for, and who we want to connect with for putting information online. So there's just a bucket load of stuff to do. We're at the beginning of this and trying to work as hard to try to hit the road running. We're not quite there, but a lot has been done, and I want to thank Rhonda and Tito for their leadership.
Okay, so whoever's up next, I'm done.
I think that's now back to the co-leads to talk about the co-lead elections and discussion and action.
You want to kick us off?
This is our, under our charter, this is the meeting that we are supposed to look at our motions, and I believe a note had been set out to try to check on 2 things. One, who is interested in running for a co-lead position, as well as who are, if any of the body, if anyone was going to be resigning their post, they were supposed to give notification by the 21st. If none, then assuming that you are re-upping for another round of a term of service, okay? So with that, we need to make the determination. Do we have any nominees? Self-selection is perfectly fine for running for co-lead. 2 seats available. 2 seats are available. 2.
Well, I would start the chant of 4 more years for both of you if I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
You certainly can.
So I nominate both of you for another term, both Pat and Bill.
Bill
I second.
This is their second term already, right?
Yeah.
So here's what I would say, if I may. We will absolutely serve again if this is the will of this body. We would say as well that as we are bringing folks in and folks that want to assume this leadership position, you know, Rhonda, your hands are full. I know Tito's hands are full in this committee work. Going forward, as we look at this next year and looking at people, grooming people for that leadership position, I think is good for us as a body. So, you know, we will certainly accept, we will certainly serve, if that's your will, with the understanding, let's look forward and say, who do we, you know, we have new people that are going to be onboarded, and what does that look like? So, so yes, we would accept.
I'm kind of new to this group, but I'm learning a lot from Pat and for Bill. So I really thank you for that. And I hope you can continue for at least 1 more year.
Okay. So I guess we have a motion and a second on the table. I will call the roll. Chris Baker, you are here now.
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Gary Johansson,
Yes.
Patricia Shelby,
I will. Yes.
yes. Rhonda Henderson,
Yes.
Stephanie Williams,
Yes.
Tito,
You know, I'm always for youthfulness, energy, and inexperience, but I love my uncle and auntie, so you got my vote again.
oh my goodness, Vincent, Vincent Valdez,
Yes.
Jesus Cervantes,
Yes.
John Rice. John's kind of been in and out. He may have.
I think his system dropped again.
Yeah, I think he did. Steve Blatton.
Yes.
Thank you. Bill Knowlton, yes. All right. Thank you for your confidence in us. We appreciate it, and we will continue to serve.
And this fall, we will be taking up the discussion of new leadership and how we'll go. Then that's going to be good that we have some more new energy and new blood coming in as well. And so look forward to that opportunity and opportunity to be able to serve on a committee.
Did we skip something on the agenda, the bios, the personal bios?
No, we did.
Oh, okay. I must have missed it then. Okay.
You must have snoozed through that part.
So our next piece is we're into our new business and future agenda. We already had heard earlier that there is a request for an update of our
air
monitor data. Okay. I also wanted to let you know that I participated in a policy and popcorn event discussion today with UC Davis. I was on with Christian Torres from Comite Civico from the Imperial Valley area, right there at the border with Mexico. And that's also one of the organizations we leaned on very hard in looking at how we started to work our charter as well. And so it was a very good discussion. Vincent was able to join. I think a few other people may have been able to join in, but that was very nice being able to represent Sacramento and our AB 617 committee. Do we have items that of upcoming agenda items that are requested?
Yeah, before we get into that, I think maybe we want to report back out on, we'll have Mark report back out on the AB 617 consultation meeting that occurred this morning, and maybe where people can get some more information if they wanted to follow up on that.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'll just go very quick, very high level. So there is the statewide consultation group is also had a meeting this morning. It's been a full day of 617 between Pat's work this afternoon. There was a 3-hour meeting though this morning. And so the statewide consultation group was reviewing the people's blueprint in preparation for working on the state blueprint for just guidance to 617 overall. So today the focus was on chapters 3 and 4. And I think we're gonna go and put the link in the chat real quick if anyone has not previously seen the link to the blueprint in question. The next meeting, I believe, is slated for March. At the moment, they do not have a date yet for the next consultation group meeting, but they're slating it tentatively for March, at which point they will go through chapters 5 and 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey, Vincent, you had asked for us to bring a transportation person to the upcoming agenda as well. It's a committee that you serve on, am I correct?
Yes, they were going to have a vote on the 25th at the city council, but they moved it to next month. But I don't think we're going to be able to have a discussion with them prior to that. So I'll ask them if they're still interested in coming out and talking about what they're doing in the community on the Transportation Priorities Planning Committee. And so what they're looking at is different ways to reduce car traffic other than ride sharing. And they're talking about a super highway bicycles system or something like that. They're just trying to remove vehicles from the freeway other than electric vehicle transition, although they're in support of that as well. So they're just one of the different committees that I've been invited to attend since I've been a member of AB 617. So I really feel it would be good to bring them to our meeting, and maybe we could support some of the initiatives they have in the community in emissions reductions.
Okay, so is TPP, is it Transportation Planning Priorities, or what's the proper name again?
Transportation Priorities Planning Committee.
Planning Committee, okay.
Yeah, Jackie Cole is the lead on that one, and also there's a few other people, but she's the main contact in the community as far as engaging the community in solutions.
Could you help us? Is this a regional committee? Is it City of Sacramento, county? What is it?
That's the City of Sacramento. The county's doing their own as well, and I'm also attending that meeting as well. But yeah, I'll introduce them to us, and I asked her, and she said they had a conflict today, but
yes,
if we don't get them to our regular meeting, which would be the community engagement meeting, we'll definitely get them to come to our outreach committee meeting, one or the other.
Okay, and Vincent, do you want to try to get one from the county and one from the city? don't have to necessarily be at the same meeting, but
Yes, I'll reach out to a lot. I've been actually talking to a lot of different people, and sure, I will bring them one at a time and also discuss them with the committee first prior to it.
okay. Appreciate
Seeing
that.
seeing if we're interested.
Okay. Very good. Any other potential upcoming topics?
Bishop, you have your hand up?
Yeah, excuse me. I was wondering if you all reached out to any of those organizations like the Asian Resource and all those with the other language barriers.
Are we talking about for interpretation or for a presentation?
No, for the flyers.
Oh, okay, for that, looking at those resources. I'm going to write that down. I have not at this point, but we can see what perhaps shared resource they might have available.
Well, I work with the Hmong community, and she just texted me and said, sure, they'll be willing to work, but they want to know what they would be doing and what would be needed of them.
Okay.
Tito and then Alberto.
Hi, Bishop. Yeah, to address that, sir, yes. I do work well with Asian Resources. I know they have a bunch of resources as far as the language is concerned. So Jose and I volunteer for that. I could be the liaison to help with that languages, whether it's my community or Asian Resources. Either way, it will get done. It's just a matter of us getting the approval and getting the flyer maybe a couple of weeks in advance, and we'll get the translation done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tito. Alberto?
Thank you, Bill. I just wanted to add additional information to the point that Vincent made, which I think is a good one. So the city of Sacramento is having a climate and transportation workshop, which was initially scheduled for this week, and it was moved to the 8th of next month. And as Vincent alluded to, the point is to try to understand what are the opportunities to reduce pollution, both air and climate pollution from our transportation sector, which, as we all know, is the largest source of emissions. So I think it's a really good idea for us, for your committee, to try to tie into what the city is thinking in terms of their transportation sustainability plan. As you can imagine, we as an air agency are getting pulled into those conversations as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of synergism for you to hear from them. And obviously Jackie it's a great contact there. The city has some great people working on the plan as well that we'd be more than happy to try to facilitate the connection if the committee wishes to.
Thank you.
That would be great. Tito, is your hand back up or did you forget to take it down?
Sorry, Pat, that was my vote for your leadership again. I apologize.
You're on fire, Tito.
I think what people need to recognize here is Tito is just showing his ongoing appreciation. So it should be more like a thank you to Tito.
That's right.
Tito's not in trouble on this one. Tito's being, just showing his appreciation.
That's right. Thumbs up on that, Pat.
So Tito, Auntie is asking you to take it down.
Okay. Hey, Tito, vote early, vote often.
That's right. That's right. Once every 2 years, sir.
Okay.
I'm using the Tito emoji now, the clapping hands.
Right. Okay. Are there any other future agenda items or new business? Going back to what Alberto was just telling us about, February 8th, is that a public meeting, Alberto, that committee is having, the city?
Yes, absolutely. If the committee wishes to participate, you'd be more than welcome.
Could we get that information forwarded to us to Marina? Perhaps that would be the best resource to get that out to us so that we can get.
Absolutely. We can get you the information in the easiest way possible. Sure.
All right. We appreciate you for doing that. All right. And now is the time, if we have no other comment from committee, our public comment time. Can we take this down and be able to see folks' faces? Do we have anyone wanting to share anything or things that we need to do or hear about?
Just a quick reminder, you can put it in the chat, or you can press reactions and raise your hand, or press *9 if you're on the phone. Any of those work.
All right. I don't see anything at this time, so Marina, is there any other piece of business that we need to take care of on the agenda?
No, I believe that was it.
Okay. Janice, I'm just catching a couple of action items that we're going to be for the giving us a time when we would get a report back about the monitoring data.
Okay.
The onboarding process, will you let us know when that commences?
Mhm.
And will you please let us also know if the 2 members that weren't selected from the residents are willing to come on as alternate members, alternative?
Okay.
To see if there is an interest on their part. And the February 8th information forwarded to us as well.
Repeat the last one, Pat, the February 8th information?
Yes, that was what Alberto was sharing with us about the meeting that's been moved from tonight to February 8th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, members? Outreach committee, thank you so much. There's a whole lot on your plate and more to come. So Rhonda, let me make sure I got that right. You were saying that the questions need to be back to you by February 3rd?
Yes, that's correct.
Preparation for interviews. Okay. February 3rd. Send those to Rhonda. Okay. Otherwise, that's what's on my list. Anything else? Bill?
As always, everyone, thank you so much for your time and for your efforts and for all your hard work. And again, to the outreach committee, you guys have done a lot of work. Again, thank you so much. And Rhonda, to your question about the profiles, you'll be getting something in an email. We're going to put a profile picture and a small little biograph for the website for all of us. So you'll get that. So I was just joking.
Okay, good. I think I was having technical difficulty when you guys went over that, so I missed it.
So, and the other part, just reminding folks, you can make your write your comment in Word and attach a picture and send that in, and Marina will also help to fit it if you can't do all the rigmarole. That's the technical term, rigmarole.
That's right.
to get that page set up.
Yeah, thankfully
Okay.
Pat was our guinea pig, and so she has already graciously pointed out some challenges that it can provide. So we'll learn from her example already, both the great nature, for example, but also the challenges she found with our system. So we'll see if we can't make that better. And Jesus, I remember you asking about just getting it in Word, because that's a lot easier than dealing with it in a PDF. So
yeah,
we'll take all these lessons to heart.
Yeah, I tried to use it today, but I couldn't get it to work properly either. So
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All
I
right,
see,
everybody.
is Vincent's
So
hand up
much.
new?
What's that?
Oh,
I thought I saw Vincent's hand up new.
Oh, yeah, it was, but it's okay.
No, go ahead. That's it.
No, no, no. I'm good. I'm done.
all right.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you
All
so
right, good
much.
night.
Joining us. Take care.
Thank you, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Night, everybody.
Happy retirement, Karen.
Enjoy
Happy
your
retirement.
next chapter, Karen. Join me. I'm retired too.
Yeah. How's that working for you?
Congratulations, Karen.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right.
All
Good night.
right. Thank you all.